Okay, so it's March the 23rd, which is a Wednesday, and it's about 1:40 in the afternoon on in Indiana, Central Indiana time. I wanted to get on briefly and talk today about an update about QuickBooks and the credit card program or the processing fee with them that for your customers when you invoice them. So if you don't run QuickBooks, this really isn't for you. And or if you're considering them, you can share this with you as my own experience. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, if you would, but even if you don't watch the video, please subscribe. I want to try to help out as many people as possible. And so I'm going to jump right into it. Credit card processing fees, okay? In the state of Indiana, it is perfectly legal to pass a credit card processing fee over to a customer. When I set up my services, I don't require them to pay with any one particular method or way. The credit card I selected as an option simply because some people like to pay with their credit cards. And in most cases recently, even now, when they would make a payment with the credit card, I would get the money deposited into my account the next day if they paid it by a certain time in the day, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, sometimes even as late as 4 or 5. I don't know what the exact time is. So here's what's going on. I did a video about this before, but that was before this most recent update. And so for the longest time, I would send out an invoice to a customer. And to keep things simple and easy, we're going to use a $100 invoice and a 4% credit card processing fee. So I would send out a credit card or an invoice to a customer for $100, and I would select the option in the QuickBooks program that would allow me to pass a convenience fee over to the customer. And for the longest time, you could go into account settings and you could adjust it 3%, 4%, and I think 4% might have been the highest. So it could have been 2, 3, or 4, I believe. I always chose the highest option. I wanted to be completely reimbursed for the fee. I didn't want to pay for it. And I didn't, I don't make my credit or my customers use the credit cards. I'm not a fan of them because of fees. I don't want to be paying fees for money that I already earned. In my eyes, that's not right. And since I'm not requiring them to pay any one certain way, in my mind, I was okay with that. So what would happen is I would send the invoice to the customer for $100. If they chose to make that payment through the email with the credit card, then QuickBooks would then generate an additional invoice on their own in the amount of $4 or whatever the processing fee was. And so on my end, I received the payment of $100, and then I have $104, and my invoice was paid, and then an additional invoice was cleared out, paid, and processed for the convenience fee for $4. And the credit customer knew that they were paying a convenience fee. Then about a year ago, sometime around February, actually, the end of February in 2021, all of a sudden I started noticing my customers were giving me payments, but I was getting a note via email, and then also when I would log into the desktop for the online version, which is the one I use, you have received a payment from a customer plus an overpayment. So let's take that same invoice before that was $100. And they chose to make the payment with the credit card, which is a 4% processing fee. On their end, didn't show that they were being paid or charged a processing fee. Instead, it was being shown that they paid $4 over the amount of the invoice, so they had a $4 credit. So what that did is two things. Number one, it confused my customers because they're thinking all of a sudden that they have a $4 credit. What's the problem here? Well, in cases where I'm invoicing each week for lawn mowing, for example, because I cut grass every week, if I didn't go in and reconcile that specific payment and transaction into QuickBooks manually, then that next week, the $100 invoice that they got would actually say it's $96. And then the problem would continue because they would get a $96 invoice. They would pay with the credit card, whatever the processing fee was deducted, so they thought that they had a credit. So number one, all of a sudden, they think that I'm running a scam because they're getting a credit, and I have to go back and say, hey, no, this isn't the case. Well, that went on for a while and created a little bit of a headache of additional administrative work for me at my desk. To most recently, sometime in the last couple of months, I noticed that now when you send the payment to them or the invoice to them, nothing is added when they choose to pass on the credit card fee or to make the payment with the credit card. As a matter of fact, what I noticed I found in QuickBooks is there is a journal entry or community posting on the community thing that as of last year of March, they were no longer going to pass on credit card fees. They weren't going to do it anymore, which the system still somewhat did. It wasn't completely changed. But now if I have credit card payment as an option, a couple of things. Number one, in settings, that ability for you to select 2, 3, or 4% on a processing fee is completely gone. There's no box there for you to check. When you process the invoice, you can select credit card payment and bank transfer if you want to, but if they pay it that way, they take it out on you. Now, they didn't tell me this before. Nobody picked up the phone and called me. Okay, I didn't get an email saying, hey, we've changed this. I found out because I went back on my statements and said, holy crap, a guy just paid me over $1,000 for the year for mowing for 2022, and I just got hit with, a $75 fee or whatever it was, and it was coming out of my pocket. And I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't get reimbursed for this. So now, if I send out an invoice to a customer, I have to figure out if it's a $100 invoice, I have to add 4% as a line item and say, if you pay this with a credit card, or send out the invoice actually as a total of $104 with a note on convenience fee, a line item says, hey, if you're going to pay with a credit card, this total is $104. If you're going to pay with any other option besides a credit card, now the invoice just subtract the $4 and you won't be billed for it. It's be $100, and I can reconcile it. I can correct it on the back end when I get the payment. It's just a ridiculous joke. What bothers me, and this is the thing that we run more and more into with online services, etc., when you've got a company that you're working with as a third party or whatever, where they're national. They're not local. There's no one that has to look you in the eye to talk with you about things. And they don't care if you continue or not, because you're a spoke on a wheel, if even that. They're looking at the broader number of the big people that aren't going to complain and say anything. And so about 4 weeks ago, I got on and I started paying for the automatic bookkeeping from QuickBooks, because I just don't have the ability to do it myself, and there's some things I don't know how to do. And I've tried to get this set up for the past several years with local accountants, and they always drop the ball. There's always an excuse. It's never up to date, and it's created bad blood between us. And I thought, man, well, with my current CPA, I don't want that anymore. Just keep doing my taxes, and I'll have the bookkeeping taken care of with QuickBooks, so I can always add each month. I know where I'm at with profit and loss for the year. If I need to make any adjustments, am I doing something right or wrong, etc., etc. I don't mow just 30 or 40 lawns a week. We're mowing well over 100 lawns and doing numerous mulch projects and lawn applications. I'm not a real big business by any means, but we do a good amount of sales each year that I really need somebody dedicated to doing bookkeeping to me. But anyway, I thought I'd share my experience. That's with me, okay, what I've experienced. Maybe you experienced something similar. Maybe you haven't. Most of the time, I like QuickBooks. I was informed recently through a phone call that at some point starting last year around the fall, don't quote me on that timeline, this is just what I was told, that they had 2 online products that they were merging into one. Where am I getting at with that? Well, sometimes when you go to send something or process something on the site, you see this circle thing going on forever. And sometimes you have to hit the reset page. And it has nothing to do with my laptops at all, because it happens no matter where I access the online program from. But there's this thing that spins. The other thing briefly about the online bookkeeping, something that I don't like, okay? If I want to talk to somebody, I have to request an appointment through the online. I've called in and there's never anybody available. They tell me, oh, you've got to request something online. And I'm like, man, so far, here it is, the 23rd of March. I was told when I signed up that I had until the 11th of March to get all of my documents uploaded into the system so they could do the cleanup. And as of today, it's still not done. And that initial fee was $500 to get them to do a cleanup. Okay, so, and then $200 a month. So I'm not real impressed so far. It might be a great program, and I'm not telling you that you should or shouldn't do it. You got to use your own, judgment on that. But this is the experience that I have had, and it is what it is. I wanted to share it with you. So if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Help me out. Peace.